Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's session. Okay, so as usual, I'll be running through the markets and the analysis over here and highlight some of the key pairs to be focusing. And we'll see if you guys have anything that you would like to ask or any assets that you would like me to go through. Do let me know, and then I'll be able to share my viewpoint from there on. Okay. So first thing first here, we do have some of the important news coming in within the week. We do have FOMC coming in at midnight. Yesterday, if you are, I would say like midnight session again, if you're monitoring, Trump did release a statement, okay, about imposing tariffs from Mexico, Canada, as well as the China side of things. That actually sparked some huge volatility in the related pairs. But of course, in dollar relation, then I think FOMC meeting minutes would probably be the key one later on. Then tomorrow morning, we are also having the Australia CPI as well as the RBNZ rate statement. So Aussie and New Zealand, definitely some volatility coming in. We do see that the market is kind of expecting the RBNZ to cut rates from 4.75 to 4.25. Okay. And throughout the week, really nothing much all the way until Friday. We do have the Canadian GDP, but I don't think those are gonna be like market moving data or market moving instruments. Okay, so I think the key focus will be very much for the week here is just gonna be tomorrow, where we have FOMC, CPI from Australia as well as RBNZ rate statement. Okay, so with that said, let me jump over to the charts over here. First up here, talking about the dollar index. Right now, what I'm seeing here in terms of if I zoom out a little bit more, right? So you can see on the biggest picture perspective, more like a daily scale here. We do have this channel, and of course, the market recently tests the top of this channel, and we had a minor reaction to the downside. So that potentially can mean that the dollar may face some resistance as of now and potentially coming down a little bit more. Okay, and of course, zooming in a little bit, with also the same expectation where the cycle here as a ABC might have completed and we are likely seeing a little bit of a deeper pullback. Okay, so I think this week here the focus would be more of a bearish perspective. I would say more specifically is turning bearish. Okay, the confirmation we will likely want to see is price actually breaking this low at 106 area to give us that extra confirmation, that the downside is indeed there. Okay, because as of now, what can still happen is this can easily be just a corrective development, and we might still see potential upside, right? So the confirmation is really for price to take out this low with momentum. That would really signal the part where the bias here is bearish, but right now is an early sign of a pullback. Okay. So with that, of course, then euro dollar over here, we'll be looking at turning bullish, right? So same thing if I zoom out a little bit. Okay. Didn't really put in that channel, but you can roughly see here as well if we have this channel. Okay, it's there. The structure is there, and again zooming in a little bit, price here has completed a 3-wave cycle as well. The blue XY coming in at the fib. Pretty decent bounce as well, right? So you can see here. Okay, we did get a gap on Monday, right, this week, but the gap has kind of more or less filled, and I think right now the bias here is definitely focusing on potential upside. And of course, the confirmation is here, right? The confirmation is more of like waiting for price to break this. If you can take out that high, okay, we might face a little bit of resistance here. But if we can take out this high with momentum, then we might face some resistance here as a pullback phase. We can start to expect a little bit more upside to retest areas around this zone. Okay, so I think this week, as well as perhaps potentially going into next week here, we are gonna be riding on dollar weakness, and we'll be seeing a little bit more on the outside. Okay, so that's my take. I'm actually red flagging this pair because potentially there might be a setup that we might be able to capitalize on as price starts to pull back, right? So depending on the execution side, how aggressive you want to be looking at trades, you can go down to the hourly time frame here, and of course, start to consider as this continue to build in as a channel, that can be a very nice little impulse 1 2 3 entry. Look for it outside, okay. Or you want to at least wait for that confirmation where price take out this high, pull back before entering, right? So of course, entering here will be a little bit more aggressive, but you are also looking to capitalize on that initial bounce, right? So again, it's a balance between, do you want to go in a little bit more aggressive, or you want to wait for the extra layer of confirmation? Okay, so that's on the euro side. GBP USD over here, I think there might be still a little bit more downside. The structure overall seems to be a little bit different from the euro, right? Euro, we did get a little bit more of an impulsive move the upside, okay, but pound here, we do get a gap, but you can see this is more like a correction. So GBP USD here, in terms of Fibonacci expectation, we are also looking at a WXY. The 100% hasn't really been tagged. There's a good possibility we'll see that, right? And of course, you can see here it is corrective in nature, so we might get one more push. Okay. Now, I didn't really rate flag the pound dollar because, to me, I think the downside here may not be something that is very attractive to kind of catch it. But of course, if you are keen, right, that is that setup here, building into that as well, right? A simple three-way structure. If you use Fips a little bit, okay. There are some nice little confluence on the hourly setup here as well, right? You can see if you look at the 100%, look left, there are some structures area over there. Okay, if you're gonna put this as a 1618 as a stop, okay, it kind of go above a little bit, just beyond that, you can extend that a little bit up to the upside as well. There are a couple of factors and elements to support this short trade idea. Okay, if you're looking at that, the target is around 2460, 2465, right? So in terms of like risk reward ratio, you just need to adjust and see if it makes sense, right? 2560, yeah, somewhere that's right. 2560 is there. Okay, 2460. Yeah, so it's about 1.9. Given if you can't extend this stop a little bit, right? If you can't bring this down, you can go stretch this to 1:2. Not too bad, right? To be honest, it's just again up to your individual in terms of like how you want to structure this. Okay. Yeah. So for me personally, I would give this a miss. Okay. Yeah. That's my take, right? So just want to highlight on that. That's on pound dollar. Okay, Aussie dollar here is turning bullish. I think the confirmation right now would be here, right? After the recent volatility. The confirmation would very much be price having to take out this high. Then we'll start to confirm more or less the pullback, okay? But if we don't, then there's really no clear direction at this moment. The market has actually taken out that low, but give us a decent bounce, so that can potentially be what we call a liquidity sweep, okay, or a fake break. But the liquidity sweep or the fake break can only be confirmed once price take out this high, okay, and then we'll wait for correction. We can look for upside, but until then, I'll be patient on this, right? The bias is just basically turning upside, okay, but nothing confirmed yet as of now. Okay, yeah. Good. So that's on the dollar Canadian. Then for dollar yen here is turning bullish. Turning bearish. The confirmation I think is quite obvious. Okay, it will be that swing low. As of now, I don't really like how price is actually coming down, right? It seems like very, very corrective in nature. But hard to say because, we might actually see this suddenly just drop, and this can be a kind of like extended 1, 2, and then internal 1, 2, 3, etc. Okay. But the confirmation level is still here, and I would like to see some momentum breaking through before kind of committing to the sell side of things, right? But if you look at other yen pairs in terms of like pound yen and odd yen, the direction is definitely, I would say the direction on the yen pairs are definitely there, as well as the setup. I think is a little bit better on the pound yen as well as the Aussie yen. Okay, but dollar yen here seems a little bit not as clean at this very moment. Okay, but of course, if I kind of zoom out again, looking at a big picture perspective, this here can be very much a completion of a stretch wave, ABC. So if this is gonna be the top that's being respected, then there is a lot of downside that we can potentially look into. Okay, I'm not sure if I can share this with you guys as well before. Okay, kind of like going back a little bit to the dollar index on a higher time frame perspective. Okay, obviously Trump, if you follow some of his policy and some of his campaign, he's very much pro business, right? That's why you see tariffs being put in place to protect the U.S. economy, businesses, and things like that. It's not necessarily like going to be very very good for the U.S. economy, but his policy tends to favor businesses, right? And again, business owners would then in return, because of those kind of policies that Trump tends to put out, vote for him, and of course right now he's being elected, right? So the last time Trump was elected into office, we actually saw this dip. Okay, we saw this dip going into 2017, right? 2016, end of 2016 going into 2017. So right now, if Trump is going into office, end of this year, going into next year, will we be seeing also some sign of a seasonal kind of like 4 years election cycle where this can actually happen, right? It might be, right? And of course, if you take a look here, pattern perspective, we have this impulse 1 2 3. If this is going to be the top of it, then we are also expecting one more impulsive move, right? So when we start to see that alignment from the seasonal cycle perspective plus the technical chart perspective on the higher time frame, weekly time frame, just be at least mentally prepared that the dollar can actually weaken for maybe the first quarter going into 2 quarters of next year. Okay, so just bear it in mind as we're looking at some of this moves, right? How you can also capitalize on like larger swings in the market with that perspective. Okay, so yeah, just want to cover on that. Dollar Canadian over here, potentially fifth wave may be completed. We have a very very extended move since October, right? This is the move that happens overnight because of the news where Trump actually say that they will impose some tariff, right, on Canadian side. If you go into Mexican, you would probably see that same reaction because when he released that, basically it's not good for the economy on that opposing country. Okay. But what we are seeing here is potentially that can be the tip, right? But whatever it is, I'm just gonna be neutral as of now. Okay. We'll see how things go from here, what pattern can develop before we kind of look out for it. But as of now, I'm just gonna maintain a neutral point. Okay. Then we have the dollar yen. Just now we talked about it already. Then we have gold. Okay. For gold here, it's gonna be neutral for me now. We were expecting that pullback, but I did not expect it to come down so aggressive, right? And because of that, I'm just going to be neutral. So what can also happen over here is we were projecting this as a simple 3 wave. Okay, degree here is a little bit higher. Okay, but of course we're expecting also in a way where this is 1 and then 2 and then one more push and then coming down, right? So this forms that bigger corrective structure as a whole. The recent push down here is definitely very very impulsive. Okay, so that of course also with 618 over here seems to be reacting. So I'm neutral in a way. I'm waiting and see if this comes out correctively, right? Then there's a good possibility this is going to be X, and we're going to see Y starts to develop maybe in terms of like this scale here, right? Okay, so WXY, WXY. That's one possibility. If we see a strong rejection up from here, then of course that gives us an indication, all right, this can be a 1, 2, 3. And somewhere over there, we might then only see the drop. Okay, so the impulse move yesterday kind of changed a little bit moving forward in terms of the duration of time on what is likely going to develop. We need to give it more time. But as I say, if we're going to see a corrective move and price would likely then respect this high, we can start to expect a little bit more downside. Okay, but for now, just give it time and see how things grow up. Okay, silver here, I'm still expecting a little bit more upside, but of course initially we were expecting quite an aggressive move to the upside. Right now with that deep pullback, okay, with that deep pullback here, we may just be seeing some kind of a short-term three-wave cycle. Okay, so yeah, then that changed the structure a little bit because this would then be the major leg, 1, 2, 3. This can actually go down a little bit more, right? Pretty much in line with the overall direction structure of gold, right? Where we look at this and then we expect one more drop. Okay, so that also opens up a opportunity in the near term for those of you who are interested in silver, right? Okay, I didn't really red flag this yet because earlier this morning we were just very much at the bottom, right? This hasn't really formed in the morning, so there wasn't much of a swing low that was developed, but now I think we do have that swing low. Okay, yeah, we do have that swing low here. Okay, and of course right now we also have a minor break of this structure, right? But of course ideally the confirmation is going to be here, right? That would be the confirmation break. But if you are looking at this trade, I think you need to be a little bit more aggressive in looking for entry if you want to, because if you're gonna wait for price to take out that high, I mean, depending on how price is gonna develop and how you structure your trade setup, it can potentially still be worthwhile in terms of like risk reward ratio. Yeah, but you're not gonna get like major swings and huge upside potential, right? If you're gonna wait for that break of structure. If you're a little bit more aggressive, then you want to see if any sort of pullback here, you want to start to look for the buy, right? So yeah, silver, I have that view here where we are likely gonna retest this top at 31.80. So those shorter term traders, you can consider kind of like looking for the opportunity on the outside, right? Okay. Crude oil here overall a little bit more in the neutral, turning bullish. But again, I don't like this impulsive drop. We came very close to the 618. I had, really, they're not really tag it, but I would just consider it as the 618 is being tested. And of course, right now here we're likely gonna expect a little bit more upside to where the previous high is, right? Overall, we're still in the range, so I'm not really keen on spending too much time on this particular asset here. Okay. S&P 500 a little bit on the neutral side. Again, I don't really like this push up. The initial expectation is just 1, 2, 3, very very simple, but the pullback phase is very impulsive in a way. So I'm a little bit cautious on this, but of course if you go over to the NASDAQ, right? NASDAQ is a little bit cleaner because NASDAQ here you can see the pullback isn't as impulsive, and so far seems to be respecting that 618, right? Okay, so I think this one here is a little bit cleaner if you're looking at like US market and looking for opportunities to sell, right? Then the NASDAQ seems to be a little bit structurally a little bit easier to manage as compared to like S&P, right? Because S&P here may actually break that high before coming down. Okay, yeah, so if you are looking at S&P, then my personal take is neutral right now. the pound yen, right? So pound yen, odd yen, dollar yen, overall direction is bearish. It's just a matter of like which one has a cleaner setup that you can look to trade it. Pound yen here, I would say you want to wait for the pullback. You know, this seems to be a little bit more of a crawlish structure, so I think the pullback is likely going to develop. You want to wait for that before you kind of look to sell, right? But odd yen here may be setting up something. Right now, the expectation and forecast on odd yen is simply 1, 2, 3. You know, yellow in orange, WXY. That would form our W here and then the X here. Okay, and then right now the expectation is WXY in orange, right? Potentially developing to complete the bigger cycle of the Y wave, okay? So of course, over here, we're just taking a very simple fit retracement. If the market can come back towards like 5618, that will be pretty much an opportunity to look for sell. Okay, so if you look at the hourly smaller time frame perspective, okay, that would also give us some confluence factor. Okay, if you're gonna take it from there. Okay, 50 and 618 pretty much comes in around, you know, a little bit on the previous structure area, right? So yeah, that would be something to look out for. We did get the first push here. If you can get some sort of a corrective pullback, then that will be ideal. Okay, so that's why I'm also, you know, flagging this on odd yen so that we can keep an eye on it. Okay, pound Australia, I'm neutral. The part here is this might be a 1, 2, 3 completion and market may pull back a little bit deeper. Yeah, we'll need to see a little bit more, right? Because we are in the cycle where the down move may have completed, so I'm just a little bit more cautious on the bearish side of things. Okay, yeah, so that's the context part of things, right? Fib side, we haven't really tagged the minimum fib. Okay, we haven't really tagged the 100%. But you know, we are not like needing price to tag the 100% all the time, right? We have a clear structure of WXY, then WXY. Potentially this can be a completed cycle, so I'm just gonna be neutral for now. Okay. Bitcoin, I think it's doing its pullback. Obviously the 100%, sorry, not 100%, the 100,000 proves as it's a strong psychological number. It's a very nice even number as well. Definitely that's some resistance. If you ask me, would Bitcoin potentially break the 100,000 level? I think there's a high probability of doing that. Okay, from wave theory perspective, we are likely looking at a wave 4 development. Okay, as a pullback right now, right? But then after which, there's a good chance that we'll see one more pushback up to complete the whole cycle here, right? So I'm looking at Bitcoin as a, from this low, right? If you're gonna take it from all the way this low, we're looking at it as a 1, 2. Okay, this is 3, obviously internal with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then of course with this pullback here, okay, we are still looking at one more push up, right? And if you're also looking at kind of like historical seasonal data where previously we have halving, okay, and kind of share with you guys these stats before. When Bitcoin did a halving, there's a good chance within a year's time prices tends to double, right? So this year we have some during around April-May period, right? We have that halving, right? So somewhere around 60-ish. Okay, that was when the price was. Doubling it means that it's likely going to reach 120, right? We're kind of like getting close to there. Okay, so from that perspective, I'm actually bullish for Bitcoin. Okay, so if we are gonna look at, you know, the perspective of that plus the charts here, obviously now it's doing a little bit of pullback, right? I think the pullback can come back as deep as maybe around 88,000. But then that also opens up an opportunity where you can look to, you know, buy into Bitcoin and expecting like one more push up, potentially towards 120,000, right? Yeah, so cryptocurrencies, BTC here overall is going to be bullish. Short term is going to be coming down, but personally, I don't think it's a good idea to be selling it. Okay, I would personally more like, um, say you want to wait for the pullback and then look for the buy. That would be much of a kind of safer way of trading crypto. Okay, because if you're selling it, um, I mean it's possible as well, but the thing here is, I wouldn't suggest you do like very short term crypto trading, right? Because price volatility is just big. Yeah, so more of a swing trade perspective, then you want to wait for the pullback to complete and then look for the buy side. Okay. Yeah, so generally those are some of the things that I think it's worth noting. Um, cool. Yeah, we're getting some movement from the dollar side, right? Like euro dollar is breaking that. That's great. Dollar yen is breaking that. That gives us the extra confirmation that we need. Okay. Um, Jimmy asks what I use now, still Elliott Wave or Elliott SMC? It's still primarily Elliott Wave, right? I mean, the SMC aspect is just an element of structures. I mean, very very simple. Um, what I would call it, simple concepts and principles behind that, right? Like breaking highs and lows as an added layer of confirmation. Okay. But directional wise, I'm still overall more leaning towards like wave theory, right? In terms of pattern structure, I mean, at the end of the day, wave theory is all about pattern structure, right? And couple it with Fibonacci's itself. Yeah, so that's the primary view. All good. Okay. If there's nothing else, I think generally that's all from me for today's session. Okay. Hopefully, kind of give you an idea overall in terms of like the markets, what to look out for, what are the general direction to be paying attention to. Okay. So yep, that's all from me. All the best, and we'll see you guys in the next session then. Okay. So see you. Bye bye.